come once again to discuss things.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is...
Alex Stevenson.
Alex Stevenson, indeed. It's been a minute since Alex has been on the show, so please everyone welcome Alex back. In any case, Alex is joining us for fan film reviews this week since Rasco's indisposed, so what are we talking about today?
We're talking about the first episode of Star Trek Continues, Pilgram of Eternity.
Yeah, and I just gotta say, I really hate the title of this show, Star Trek Continues.
What would you have preferred?
Literally anything else. I don't know, it's
Fair
so
enough.
bland. It's like, people made jokes about Batman Begins, but that is a significantly better title than Star Trek Continues.
It's a good thing The Dark Knight wasn't called Batman Continues.
Right? That's the joke everyone made. And I don't know, it's a really bland title.
I suppose it could be worse.
It could be Star Trek Enterprise.
Oh, you're going there this early. Okay.
Well, that's kind of the reason I picked this, is I'm almost through Enterprise. I'm in around the middle of the 4th season.
Okay.
And that show's just really bad, but I'm committed at this point, or perhaps I should be, to get through all of Star Trek, and that's the last big hurdle I gotta get down. I'm not counting the animated series. That's the last big hurdle I've got to get down. I just have to make it through Enterprise. And I just needed literally anything else Star Trek for a minute, so I decided we'd talk about Star Trek Continues for an episode.
Cool. I mean, it's... As far as, if I wanted to compare it to other Star Trek fan film stuff, which has tried to do the same thing, I definitely prefer it to New Voyages, which came out quite some time ago. But, I mean, if I could say anything about this, it's just, as far as the look and the feel of it goes, it does feel like Star Trek Continues. It does sort of feel like Season 4 of the original series.
And that's something I wasn't sure how I felt about. Star Trek... there are these fan films that do, series things, and I always kind of question it. I question certain decisions that are made with, Doctor Who fan films or Star Trek fan films like this. I don't understand, or I don't feel like it's always justified to try to get actors to play these pre-existing characters. You'll see this a lot in Doctor Who fan films. They'll just get an actor and he's Tom Baker's Doctor or David Tennant's or whatever.
But why? With Doctor Who, you can be any Doctor that you can imagine. Exactly.
You can just be a new version of the Doctor. And for something like this, I feel very similar. Why would you do the Enterprise crew? Why wouldn't you just do a new crew for a different ship in the same era? Why does it have to be the Adventures of Enterprise, of the original Enterprise?
That's totally fair. I mean, it is obviously a nostalgia project.
Mm-hmm.
I think it succeeds on that level, but...
Yes, it is a very elaborate nostalgia project.
Yeah, definitely. But, I mean, I agree. That could have been great to see, one of the other ships that was around at that time. And I guess we'll sort of see that with Discovery, even though it's set a little bit earlier, but...
Yeah, it's the Constellation, I think, was another ship of the time. I don't know.
Exeter, yeah. There are a few of them.
Yeah, it's just doing a move like that. And I'm not saying that anyone in here, besides one actor, did a bad job capturing that character and that performance. I feel like the guy they got for Kirk did a pretty good... that's what William Shatner was like as Kirk, not the parody version most people portray it as. I feel like
True.
The guy for Spock, the guy for McCoy, they all did a pretty good job. Brent Imahara as Sulu was a terrible idea because Brent Imahara, I'm sorry, the dude just can't act.
So my introduction to Star Trek continues, and this particular episode was more or less when it came out, and I felt the exact same way. The show's definitely improved, and I think Imahara's acting has as well from the newer ones that I've seen with him. But yeah, as far as like the bottom tier of these actors go, like he's definitely there.
Yeah, and like he's there to kind of give it a certain level of star power or whatever because
Mythbusters.
He's got the whole Mythbusters, science is cool thing, and I would be fine with that. Like in the same vein that I am okay with Seth MacFarlane being on Star Trek Enterprise as a crew member. That's cool. I'm okay with Grant Imahara being there as a crew member. I just don't feel like he's a particularly good Sulu. I don't know, maybe it's just for me at this moment. Did you hear about or see George Takei's, the stage musical George Takei was involved in called Allegiance?
No, I didn't.
I went to a Fathom event of it, and it was just jaw-dropping, very emotional, very impactful, very, very heartfelt story. And George Takei isn't the main character in it, but for the part he has, he does just a really good job and gets to you. And he's a very, very good actor, better than Star Trek ever showed his ability to act, I think.
That's for sure.
Yeah, and so it was like, I don't know, I don't expect this to be a Sulu series or anything, but I would prefer someone who can actually, act really well. Grant Imahara, he's been doing, this, let's react to this explosion, or let's do this funny scene in Mythbusters for 10 years. They got a new show on Netflix called White Rabbit. He's doing the exact same thing. And that's all fine and good for what it is, but as far as something that's as serious as Star Trek can be, I would prefer someone who's actually got a real background in acting and not in, like, hamming it up for the sake of entertainment, if there's a distinction.
Yeah, and I mean, part of the thing, it's always weird for me to watch fan films because they all seem to strive to be really great visually, and like, I'm not expecting that from a fan film. The one area that you can kind of compete on is, like, okay, writing, but acting as well. I mean, there's plenty of talented people who are out of work.
Yeah, definitely. And that, like, I'm working on my fan project now. The one thing I could not, like, skimp out on any level is acting. And so that's one thing that I feel, like, normally with fan films, acting, you kind of just, when it's a fan film, you have to be willing on some level to accept bad acting because, they only have so many resources. My general thing that I say with actors in fan films is you get who you can get who can do it. And that might not be the best actor in the world. But with this, they obviously have a lot of resources they put into this thing. There's a lot of heart and dedication into this. And I have to believe that there is someone who's a better fit for that role than Grant Imahara. And I think that's kind of evidenced by the fact that we have other actors in these bridge crew roles that are doing a better job than Grant Imahara. That's just how I kind of feel. For a second, I wasn't quite sure it was him, just because the hair was so different and everything. But
yeah, it's like, wait a minute, I know you.
Right. So I think he is my biggest complaint about this series. But at the same time, he's not in a ton of the episode, so I'm kind of getting over that. That's just the biggest thing that jumped to mind to me.
Yeah, I mean, if we're gonna take that tack with the actors, I wasn't thrilled by Larry Nemec as Bones. That's another case of, like, this is a person who's well known within the Star Trek fan community, and that's how they got this role. But
see, I don't even know who that is or anything, so that didn't jump out to me.
He's mostly known for, like, doing a lot of the reference materials. A lot of the newer ones too that I don't like. So maybe I'm a little bit biased, but.
That's funny. For those that don't know, Alex is an avid attempter at mapping the Star Trek universe, and it doesn't help that they screw with everything every chance they get.
Yeah, it really doesn't help. Although, admittedly, part of the fun is, like, how do I fit together all these puzzle pieces that are from different puzzles? So,
I remember when I was in kindergarten, we were given this project with a bunch of puzzle pieces, and what we were supposed to do was glue the puzzle pieces onto a frame that our like class photo would go in. I didn't realize that because I was a child and I didn't pay attention, and there was a movie playing in the back of the classroom while like we did this one at a time. And so I just get back there and there's a bunch of puzzle pieces and they go, okay, do the thing. And so I started trying to fit all these different puzzle pieces from different puzzles together.
how did it go?
Like 15 minutes later, they're like, Ian, what are you doing? Anyway, back to the fan film. Maybe that can be a new series, Geeky Gentlemen, just me talking about times
puzzles?
I was foolish as a child. But back to the fan film itself. So, okay, I've made fun of Star Trek for this, and I'm gonna do it again. So there are like 3 episodes of Star Trek, the original series. There's something gets on board the ship and affects the crew in some way, shape, or form, and either wackiness or drama ensue.
Mm-hmm.
They go down to a planet that is identical to Earth in every single way, but blah, 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 bullshit science fiction.
Yeah.
And then they have to solve that problem because social commentary. And then 3, they meet God, and God says, good job on you.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So this falls into category number 3. They meet God, but again. And God's all like, good job.
So how did you feel about this, like, just on the level of it being a sequel to an actual episode of the original series?
It's interesting because it's been about a year since I watched through TOS, and I'm just trying to remember if they did any sequels.
Unless you count the Menagerie, which isn't really technically a sequel to The Cage, it's just they took footage from The Cage and remade it into 2 more episodes.
Yeah, and I wouldn't. Like, I guess the closest TOS Trek ever got to a sequel is Wrath of Khan.
Yeah.
And so I found that part weird, but at the same time I was okay with that decision. I just wish they picked a better episode to do a sequel to.
Yeah. I was never a huge fan of Who Mourns for Adonais.
It's just one of those things where it got too, like, you know, it's, again, Star Trek. It just got too silly. It's one of those things you can almost make fun of Star Trek for. Where it's so over the top that it's the Greek gods, and it's Apollo, and he's wearing, you know, a golden toga. It's just, everything about that is practically laughable. And so to see that come back, I was like, really? That's gonna be your pilot? Of all the things you could choose, that was what you go for?
I wonder if it's just because they had access to the actor.
Oh, is that the same actor?
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. Okay, that is a good touch in production value. And I will say this. This is a sequel that is better than its original. I enjoyed this more than I did story-wise, I enjoyed this more than I did the original episode of TOS.
I don't know which one I prefer. I think I have real problems with the end of this one.
Really?
Yeah.
Please.
Okay. Well, this is a problem with a lot of original series episodes. It's like Kirk's just out there basically playing God himself. And I don't know. I don't think it's responsible to just dump him on some planet somewhere.
It's certainly not. It has the exact same problem as Khan, where it's too frickin' naive. To the point, like, I made that video, Green Lantern Star Trek Morality, and I put that little joke in there where it's Khan and Kirk, and I'm like, hey, cool if I drop you off on a planet completely unsupervised? Sounds good to me! It's just so... It's so thoughtless, and this isn't to be fair, this is consistent then with TOS, which is trying to be, in that there are seemingly no consequences until the future. where consequences inevitably happen, but then Picard and everybody else gets to deal with that.
Picard is held on a much tighter leash than Kirk was, for sure.
Yeah, and, like, it's weird. It's like, you know, to go back to Enterprise, Archer was held on a much tighter leash than Kirk was. Kirk was just, like, the free spirit out there, in comparison to the captains that supposedly came before and the one that came after him.
Well, in fairness, you know, Archer was the only ship, really.
True. But I don't know, it is a really weird thing, and it ends up working out, supposedly. I suppose they could do another sequel if they really wanted.
Yeah, I mean, I agree as far as how it plays out. Like, he's learned the value of self-sacrifice, and he's a good guy now. Okay, that's good, but, like, it also could have just as easily gone the other way.
Yeah, certainly.
And, you know, I'm pretty sure that this does absolutely violate the Prime Directive.
TOS doesn't care about the Prime Directive is the only thing I can really figure. You know, Green Lantern and Star Trek's doing its second crossover in the comics right now, and they're doing it with Abrams' TOS continuity.
Oh, weird.
It's okay. We should do a review of that sometime. I'd be interested to get your thoughts. But they're doing it with the Abrams continuity, and, like, that's certainly interesting and everything, but to me, I think the more fascinating story would be with TNG, where Prime Directive is held to much more strongly to the point...
To a ridiculous extent.
Yeah, to the point where it's, like, monstrous, and the Green Lanterns are, like, completely the opposite of the Prime Directive. Like, Hal Jordan would not be able to be a Green Lantern if the Guardians had the Prime Directive, because Earth hadn't made interstellar contact. So there's just all these things going on with that I just find the Prime Directive to be a really interesting trap that they put themselves in, and it's always fun to see writers try to figure out how to make exceptions to it when there should be no exception because it's the Prime Directive. But whatever. So yeah, I do agree. This does violate the Prime Directive. I guess the argument would be that the whole point of the episode is Apollo going through a character arc so that it makes the ending okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I mean, I think it succeeds enough that, like, it works, but just, like, if you do take that step back, it's like, this is not right at all.
Yeah, and, like, again, it's consistent. You can't say it's not consistent. So, I don't know, I tend to just think that, like, a lot of those problems, like, I think all the best decisions that you could make with this episode were made, all things considered.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I just feel like that's starting from a poor decision of making a sequel to an episode that's not very good. Like, you know, I've seen people's top 10 episodes of Star Trek, the original series, and this is not on them.
Yeah, I think this is rarely, if ever, on anyone's top 10 list.
Yeah, so it's a really odd place to start out, I think.
Well, and, like, what's the moral of the story? Because the original episode is sort of like, we don't really need gods, and then this one's sort of like, well, maybe we do.
Yeah, maybe someone else needs gods now, but they need sacrificial gods, not, you know, worshipy gods. And that's, like, a whole other thing itself, if we want to get into Greek mythology and how that differs from, you know, Christian and other sacrificial religions' morality, because that's a whole can of worms to talk about.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because, you know, the whole point of the gods to the Greeks and a lot of other ancient civilizations was they held complete power. The people were afraid of the gods, so they worshipped them to gain their favor, all that stuff. And then the point of the original episode that this is following up is, okay, so then we've moved beyond that. We don't need to fear the gods anymore. We don't need to curry their favor. We are self-sufficient. And then you have the idea of, like, a lot of Christian morality and other sacrificial religions, where it's, you don't worship God because you're afraid of him, you worship God because he loves you. And so that's, like, Apollo becomes Jesus at the end of this, I think.
Maybe?
like maybe there's a better. I don't know. To be fair, I'm
wandering magical guy.
Yeah, I'm a
helps
typical
people.
Westerner. I can't think of other religions. I guess Saint Peter kind of did that, where in the Catholic dogma, he kind of wandered and healed people after the crucifixion. So, I think it was Saint Peter. Don't quote me on that, but there was one of those guys.
There have been a lot of wandering healers. It's fair.
Yeah. So like, I guess he's kind of like transitioned to that, which I don't know. That's a weird, muddly message at that point. Then I don't know. It's certainly an interesting idea. It's one of those things where I think they thought it through, but they didn't think it through all the way.
Yeah, and again, it just kind of comes back to what you brought up before, and that's why make a sequel to that episode?
Like, okay, let me ask you this: episodes of TOS you would actually like to see sequels to?
Devil in the Dark, maybe? I'd like to see more of the Horda.
Okay, and see, it's just been too long since I've watched TOS to remember, like, them by title and everything. Crap, what's one? I would like to see another Harry Mudd episode, to be honest with you. Like, Harry Mudd's a very problematic character, but I think you could do interesting things with him.
Yeah.
To slowly make him a better person, but I don't know.
You're going to get your wish because he's going to be in Discovery.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Although I guess it's a prequel.
Yeah, young Harry Mudd. Whatevs. I'm down. I don't know, there's just like a lot of stuff like that where I think there have to be better episodes. I would have to go back and look through them. I think there are episodes you could do follow-ups to fix, like the really bad episodes of TOS. Turnabout Intruder could desperately use a cleanup.
Yeah. Or just wiped from canon.
Just literally anything to fix that.
Yeah.
Kirk wakes up from a really weird dream and goes, God, I'm a dick.
Or be like, what did you give me, Bones? Shouldn't have been drinking that Saurian brandy.
Yeah, just something like that. I don't know, I feel like there are better decisions to be made here, and I'm definitely curious to see other things. I guess the thing because I've been kind of negative, and I don't mean to be, because I was really impressed with a lot of this. Like, I'd heard about this series, and I heard that they go, oh, well, we actually, made sure that we had the correct color uniform. It's not true yellow, it's like this green. And
it's a lime green, yeah.
Yeah, do the way they shot things, it changed the color, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was impressed with all the technical details, but just the scale of this series really impressed me, because you don't really think about the scale of the original Star Trek show as far as sets and stuff go when you're first watching it, because it's a TV show. It makes perfect sense. But when you see it done on a fan film kind of thing, it's like, wow, they actually had to go and not only make a set of the Enterprise bridge, they had to make it identical. And then they had to do the same thing with the, Jeffries tubes. I think that's
sick bay and the transporter room. And
yeah, they really went all out. And I was very impressed by that. I'd be curious to see how much they go for, like, matching some of the cheapness of TOS. Like, I'd find it really funny if in one of the Kirk fight scenes they actually get an actor that looks nothing like the guy.
That would be funny. It's authentic Star Trek.
Yeah. Like, I was impressed by the suits. It's not just spacesuits. They are identical recreations of the exosuits and stuff. That was really impressive. And for anyone else watching it that, like, didn't know a lot about TOS, I'm sure people would go, oh, okay, it's like a suit. But, like, I looked at them like, wait, that looks familiar. And I Google imaged it. And it is down to the frickin' mesh in front of the face that makes no damn sense. It's a direct recreation. How
does mesh keep the air in? You're right, that doesn't make any sense.
It's force field. There you go.
It's always the answer.
It's a force field. A wizard did it.
So speaking of the spacesuits, did you notice who the other guy was?
No, I didn't.
It's Jamie Bamber. he was on Battlestar Galactica, and he played the character whose code name was Apollo.
Oh, interesting. That's funny. There's like a lot of really subtle stuff that I'm just not going to pick up on. Like, I didn't even think that it might be the same actor from the original Apollo episode. I assumed, like any rational person, that every man that was in his prime in the 60s probably dead now.
Well, Shatner's still going.
Is he, though? Is he really?
Did he ever go?
Yeah, exactly. No, that's true. I just, you look at a lot of those old things, and it's not... I'm never surprised when I find out that someone from this old TV show is not around anymore, because I'm like, yeah, it's been 50 years.
Half a century is a long time.
Yeah, it turns out that a lot has happened between then and now. Like, did you know computers are a thing?
What?
Exactly. So,
throwing out my typewriter now.
Yeah. You're recording a Skype call on your typewriter. You want to explain to me how that works?
A wizard did it.
A wizard did it, right. There's just a lot of stuff like that I'm sure there's tons of rich detail and stuff here. A lot of fan films will do that, where there's like really quick references to things. My project is doing that. I'm not going to tell you how, but it's doing that. I talk about this series often, and it's back. So the Joker blogs, if you watch the news broadcast episode of that, they have like a little crawl of stories.
Oh, yeah.
Every single one of them is a reference to something. So like a lot of series will do that, and that's always a fun thing, because like comic book movies will do that once or twice at best, but I love when fan series do it, because it's really them showing off at that point.
Well, it's made for the fans.
Exactly. That is only an argument that can apply in a fan film.
True.
Studios, quit doing that. You're not making fan films. You're making professional quality work. And a lot of a lot of the problems that I might have with this, like the fact that they are doing a sequel to an episode that I don't really feel earns it, is fixed by the fact, yeah, it's made for the fans. It's a fan series. They can do whatever they want. They have absolutely no requirements here.
They're even exempt from the new CBS fan film rules, so...
Oh, are they? Did they get exemption for that? That's good for them.
Well, they've continued to churn out episodes, so...
Well, I know at one point they'd ask for like special permission to keep going. I don't know.
I think they must have gotten it.
Yeah, I didn't follow up on that any further. I need to do an episode talking about Axanar at some point, because
I'd love to do it with you, because I have some very strong opinions. I'm
all over the place on that. I'm like, two wrongs don't make a right is, I guess, the general view I have on the whole Axanar situation. But this is something that I quite like, even though I'm not the biggest Star Trek fan in the world. I'm really impressed by the love and the dedication this has. You can feel it all over the place, just in the fact that, like, it's in 4:3. Yeah. Like, they have the aspect ratio right. It's not some weird widescreen thing where it's like, why can I see more of the bridge? Well, like, I personally, I hate black bars. I hate black bars. Oh, I do too. Yeah, I despise black bars, but the fact that they decided, no, we're going to stick in the original aspect ratio of the show just so it's more like the show, I was really impressed by. I was like, that's a really interesting decision that I don't think most people would have even conceived of. And it does lend itself a certain amount of character. I'm even reasonably sure, just looking at the films, like the picture of it, I think this might even be shot on film. It's hard for me to tell that, though. I cannot say for certain if this is shot on digital or on film. Yeah, I'm not sure. That'd be something I'd be interested in finding out. But there is a lot of dedication put into this, and it's hard not to just respect it on that alone. And again, my problems with it are more, really, that was your move? It's not so much that it was a terrible move. It's questionable, but there's a lot of stuff in Star Trek that's questionable, like making a series set before TOS. You don't say. I really do not like that series, Alex. It's really bad.
So how do you feel about the fourth season, at least compared to the rest of it?
It's been better.
Mm-hmm.
Like still stuff that doesn't make sense, but I don't want to review Enterprise. Surprise announcement, and now Alex is committed to it. We're going to be going through every series of Star Trek once I finish Enterprise. We'll do a review for every series. So there you go.
Excellent.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's just this does feel refreshing to me since I've been watching so much, passable at best
Bad Trek.
Yeah. In recent weeks, and so that has made this more refreshing. Interestingly, we did an Enterprise fan film a while back. It was called Horizon, and it is set around Enterprise. I need to go back and rewatch that after I finish Enterprise to see if it makes the series make more sense.
I don't really think so.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good to know. Otherwise, I don't know. The series. Watching this series was really interesting. Was it like a fun idea? And I'm definitely planning to watch more of this in the future. I'm planning to catch up, watch more episodes. I'm a little unsure about their release schedule. It's like they've only had 8 episodes, but they've been doing this for 3 years or something.
Yeah, I think it's sped up a little bit, and I think we kind of get them maybe 2 a year.
Okay, that's. For all the effort that's going into it, that's certainly understandable. But I don't know. I'd be cool with some bottle episodes.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me. I don't know.
Well, often those are Star Trek's better episodes.
Right.
It's like, we actually have to write a script that's good and has people who talk and have character and resolve drama that way.
No, you don't understand. People want lizard fights. That's what the people want, Alex.
The people want lizard fights. I would love to see them bring the Gorn back in those suits.
Yeah? It would be interesting to see Gorn negotiations, because I think they've only really ever been referenced or brought up in the comics. I don't think they've ever shown up in anything else again.
They've been referenced in, I know, Deep Space Nine at the very least. I think maybe once on TNG, but yeah, we've never seen them again, aside from, I guess you haven't gotten there yet.
Okay, good to know. Something to look forward to, ?
I think that's one of their better episodes.
Cool. All right. Anything else you wanted to say? Oh, wait, I did have one other thing I wanted to bring up. I don't like that they disable comments on this. I find that to be a problem. For, anything that generally does that, I dislike. Just as, a general thing, disabling YouTube comments. I find it's this kind of reaction of, I don't want to hear anyone talk about this. I'm like, come on. Really? Disabling comments? That's not cool. You're on YouTube. Everything else might be set in the 60s, doing it 60s-wise, but you are posting it to YouTube.
True, they did not broadcast this through the air.
Yeah. I feel like if you're posting it on YouTube, you should enable comments. Community feedback, all that stuff is really important for YouTube, and it might very well improve things in the series that they don't even think of.
I can't really speak to it because I don't know why the decision was made. I know some series, whenever the new episode will come out, then they'll just disable comments on whatever the previous one was. Because it's okay, the window has closed. But yeah, I really can't say.
Like that idea. I feel like comments and feedback are an important part of what YouTube is, and like it or not, this is part of what YouTube is. So a lot of
YouTube comments are awful, though. And
True,
I can understand if you're in a position where you can't moderate a community and bad things are happening, then I don't know what else you can do.
Yeah, I don't know. I generally tend to think that you should just leave comments open and let, people downvote the assholes.
Does that even work anymore?
Yeah.
YouTube's
if you downvote
gone down this strange road where everything's so different, and it just doesn't work in ways that make sense to me anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's because it never did, but I don't know. That's just something when I initially saw it, because when I do these reviews of fan films, I always leave a comment on that fan film saying, "Hey, I did a review of this," and leave a link. And I'm gonna still try to send them a link through social media or something, but I like not only to let them know, but to, it's a little selfish advertising for me too. So I don't know. I find it an odd thing to disable comments.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that as far as, like, your point about the community side of YouTube, for sure. And, I mean, again, this is a fan project, so...
It would be nice, yeah. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about with this?
Not really. I mean, there is one thing. The holodeck.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Thank you for reminding me. It's, like, right at the very beginning.
I'm mixed about it. Because... If you do ever decide to watch the animated series, they do sort of introduce a holodeck kind of technology in it. But then it's like that, of course, contradicts TNG and how when it's introduced at the start of that show, everyone's like, what? I don't understand how this works. Does this create real people or not?
Oops, we made God again. Hold on, let me just... fix that.
Oh, yeah.
Control-Alt-Delete.
Yeah, computer, just invent a life form that's more intelligent than you.
Right. Yeah, I didn't care for that either, because, I don't know, like, Star Trek's really weird about holodecks, because I think it's Voyager where Harry Kim's like, I can't even imagine, like, just sitting back and watching something without being a part of the story. Okay, 1, have you ever seen a play? 2, holodecks were invented in your lifetime. 3, there's like so many levels
Harry only
of
likes
issues.
the kind of experimental theater where the actors talk to the audience, I guess.
I don't know. I think about these kind of things, but holodecks would make plays really, really kick ass.
Yeah, they could.
Yeah, because you'd have the actors, and then just like you could have plays, but with special effects. That'd be awesome.
I will say I love the set. The set for it does look exactly like what I would imagine a holodeck in TOS would look like. So at least they got that right. But it is...
Yeah, do it in the Old West. It's just this weird, like, contradictory thing to throw right in the beginning like that. I don't know, because Enterprise, like, they found holodecks and apparently just gave them to the Klingons.
Yeah, what the fuck? That show. God.
So, I don't know, like, it's not that, like, I needed Earth to invent the holodeck or anything, it's just, there's very clear distinction in the pilot of TNG that this is the first time, like, most humans have interacted with a holodeck. That's weird.
But, oh no, they've been doing it for the past, like, 200 years.
Yeah, I don't know. It's this weird can of worms, and honestly, I guess that makes it Star Trek, because it contradicts itself.
Yeah. It's like the defining feature.
Well, like, that's kind of funny, because, like, the original justification for why there are all these continuity errors in Star Trek is the writers didn't think anyone would ever go back to watch it, and so this is the writers of this series, like, using that same justification for plot holes. But it's a fan series where everyone that has watched this has watched at least every episode of TOS at once.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's this weird contradiction kind of thing. Okay, yeah, good one. All right, you remember how we do ratings, right, Alex?
Yep.
Okay, why don't you go first? What are you going to rate the first episode of Star Trek Continues?
I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 preemptive holodecks.
Okay, that's a good score. I tend to agree with you. It has its problems, but it's got a lot going for it that makes it quite an interesting experience to watch. So I'm going to also give it a 3 out of 5 randomly curing death, which is really, really common thing on Star Trek, TOS. Just everyone can cure death.
Everyone acts like Star Trek's this, like, really hard science fiction show, and it's like, no, there's ghosts and witches and magic, and they meet gods several times, several different gods. So,
Yeah, you just roll with it.
Yeah.
You got Klingon Jesus and Vulcan Jesus and Jack the Ripper's ghost and yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, everyone, thank you very, very much for watching. This was a lot of fun. Alex, thanks for filling in on this one.
Thanks for having me back.
Not a problem. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Enthusiast.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.